Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on this very hot day for one of the last programs of this spring-summer 2022 session for the Career Coaches in Residence program, all about exploring entrepreneurship. And thank you so much to our panelists here today, who will be formally introduced in just a moment. My name is Sarah Atkinson, and I'm a Services Specialist with the Toronto Public Library. Before we begin today, I'd like to acknowledge that the Toronto Public Library is situated on Indigenous land and Dish with One Spoon territory. This is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Wendat, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Toronto Public Library gratefully acknowledges these Indigenous nations for their guardianship of this land. And as a reminder, all of the library online programs, as well as the chat box, follow the online and social media policy statement, as well as the rules of conduct. If you're interested in more information about either of those, I've added links into the chat box. And questions, if you have questions during the program, we'll do our best to try to answer everything that we can within this hour. You can add them into the chat box. There's also an Ask a Question tab at the bottom you can use as well. And please note this session will be recorded. It's available as a recording. You could use the same link that you used to come today. And so if you've missed something, you want to rewatch it, pass it along to a colleague or a friend, by all means, you can share the link. And for today's program, I'm really happy to introduce one of our career coaches in residence coaches, Kadeen Cooper. Thank you so much, Kadeen, for putting this panel together today. The Career Coaches in Residence program offers free remote career and job search help for younger adults through one-on-one appointments and workshops just like the one today. And the program is generously sponsored by the RBC Foundation. And if you want some more information about the program, this current session actually ends next week. There's a few more appointments available if you want to book an appointment or just know a bit more about the information about the program. I've added a link into the chat box. I'm going to let Kadeen take it away. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. So I'm just going to share my screen to a quick introduction to our esteemed panel. And I apologize in advance for some of the background noise that you're hearing. I'm actually on location at another event that I need to speak at in a bit. So we're chatting today with some amazing entrepreneurs who I'm super excited to hear and have you hear about their journey into entrepreneurship. So entrepreneur is a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses, taking on greater than normal financial risks in order to do so. So our esteemed panel today, we have founder and owner Joe Gugliani, we have founder and owner Nikisha Geddes, and founder and owner and operator Jay Williams. So we'll start with Joe. Joe is a 20-year veteran of the premium incentive and promotional product industry. Joe founded the marketing equipment company in July of 2014. He is a true passion, and I can't stress that enough, passion, for design and building things that people love to use. So not just things that you, like swag that you would use and throw away, actual things that you would love and appreciate. His greatest joy is traveling around the world to find new and innovative ideas for his clients. With Joe's quality approach, his goal is to make sure that his customers always receive memorable solutions that engage their target audience. 8 years later, it has been a journey indeed, with still so much more to do. The best thing about creating his own company and his brand is doing what makes his heart sing, and I love that, all while helping others along the way. And then we have Nikisha Geddes. Nikisha is the founder of Geddes Concept and also the co-founder and director of Beyond Services, Choice Masters Inc. She is also an uber passionate professional about engaging with her community. She has dedicated her time and experience to organizing empowerment conferences and mentoring workshops focused on mental wellness and business strategies. Nikisha has worked with individuals with developmental disabilities for 16 years, and she is very passionate about her work with individuals and people that she supports. She is a strong advocate for fairness and equality and often finds herself advocating for people who are not able to adequately represent themselves. Nikisha is also an award-winning author and the recipient of the 2018 Women on Fire Author of the Year Award. Her writing is inspirational, based on her life experiences, and her mission in life is to spread the message which will activate the best in you. And she hopes that her readers, with her writing, will be motivated and will find the internal love to unleash the power within themselves. And then we have Jay. Jay is the owner and operator of Cuts Couture and Couture Barbershop, which is located in Markham. An amazing barber that I've seen his work firsthand. With over 2 decades of experience in men's grooming, Jay's unique artistry, and I do stress artistry because it is an art, and skills set him apart in the world of hair design. Jay has a background in music production, visual arts, and regularly finds ways to weave his personal interests into online activities that support his connection with his community and his clientele. So I want to invite you to welcome our panel. So I will stop sharing and have some questions now. So, okay. So we're going to start with a little bit of an icebreaker. So how would you, Jay, describe yourself in 3 words?
So I would describe myself as funny, daring, and caring.
I love it. Funny, daring, and caring. Nikisha, 3 words.
Ooh, my 3 word would be free, spontaneous, and joyful.
Love it. And Joe, how about you?
Spirited, fun, and quality.
Love it. And I think that's why each of you were chosen to be on this panel, because there's something about each and every one of you that I truly admire and respect, and why I selected you to be on the panel today. So let's dive into some questions here. So my first question is for Joe. When did you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? And how did you start your business?
I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur right from when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to deliver newspapers, the Toronto Star and the Toronto Sun, and I was always serving people. And even before that those jobs, I used to have a little club with my friends on the neighborhood called the Inspectors, and we created a president and a vice president and a general manager. I was the GM because I was the 3rd youngest. And we would create projects, and we would go to the local grocery store, and the things we did, it was like we did projects on our own. Like, I can't believe it. But I was always one to organize, and thinking about it. And when I would do the newspapers, I would think about how could I make this better, or everything from the cart that was pushing the newspapers to, how I collected the money from customers. So I've always been kind of thinking, designing things, and how can I improve on something? How can I make things better for people? So I guess it's kind of like a little bit of a designing mind ever since I was a kid. Does that answer the question? Oh, and
That totally answers the question.
how did I
So
start?
how did you start your business as an adult? Like, how did you venture out into the entrepreneurship?
So I didn't get into the marketing equipment company right away. I've been in this industry since 1995, but I started my business, the marketing equipment company, in 2014. And I just always known that I wanted to have something of my own. I just felt that I needed to put my heart and soul behind it, you know, as being part of something else, of someone else's. It was just built in my nature. And I'm assuming my colleagues would probably feel the same in their lives. So it was just the right time. I had young kids, and you know, I had personal, like, financial reasons to do it at that time. My kids were at the right age. The stars were aligned. I said, you know what, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to roll with this and take the risk.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's important, that, you know, you just don't dive in it if there's other factors in your life that aren't really settled. I mean, that was for me personally. Other people, I don't know how they would do it, but I felt certain personal things needed to be taken care of. So then when the time was right, 2014, I said, I'm ready to start my own thing. And 8 years later, we're here, and we're still changing and growing.
Well, that's part of the entrepreneurship journey as well, right? Nothing is stagnant, and it's a journey. It's definitely a journey. It's not a destination. You will continue to evolve and grow and rebrand even.
Yes.
So thank you so much for that, Joe. I'm going to hand it over to Nikisha. Same question. When did you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? And
Oh my goodness. I didn't know I want to be an entrepreneur. For me, my journey started because I was experiencing, I was diagnosed actually with clinical depression, and because I was going through something, and I seek counseling for that. And during that journey, I recognized that I was working in an unhealthy environment for over, oh my goodness, for years, right? And then the environment was just that toxic. And yes, my depression wasn't because of that. There was other thing that was in factor for that, but that was like a trigger, right? Because one of the things that helped me to recognize that I was going through depression was that I didn't want to go to work. So I would get up every day, take care of my kids. I live in Brampton, and I work in Toronto. So I'll take care of my kids, drop them off at school, drive an hour, sometime an hour and a half to Toronto, and I'll park my car next door, watch my clients and staff walk in and out of the building, and then call in sick, right? And I would do that maybe 2-3 times a week. So that went on for like 3-4 months, like months. And I'll just hang out at a park, hang out at the mall, and then go home and start the cycle all over again. Right. And nobody knew that I was going through this. And one day, how I even realized that something was going on, one day, a coworker of mine made a joke. So we had a coworker that was very sick, and he was off a lot. And they make a joke, and they're like, we don't even know who was upset the most, you or this person. I'm like, wait, something was wrong. And that's when I start seeking help. And that's when I was diagnosed with clinical depression. And for me, one of the things that I recognized that my working environment wasn't healthy, and I wanted change, but I didn't know how to get that change. So for me, I just started to do things different. I remember going on Eventbrite and stuff, and I would start looking, I don't even know how I went on Eventbrite, but for some reason I was directed there, and I start going to event around town, and I start connecting with different people that I've never even thought that this world even exists. And most of the people that I was connecting with were authors and business people. And I start thinking different. My circle changed completely. And that's what motivated me to write my book. With that, on my book was launched, was that I was writing out my pain. And within that journey, I recognized that this was no longer my story. And this was a story for me to put out there to help others that went through what I went through as an immigrant in Canada, and my experience with that transition here, right? And how that have impacted me as a child, not having family in Canada, right? And had to be on my own at the age of 16 without any family support. And that those pain stemmed into my childhood, and that was part of what was going on. But the unhealthy environment, I knew I had to rid that in order to heal myself. So I launched my book, I think it was November 2017. And after I launched that, I think that date is when I gave birth to Nikisha Geddes, right? And something just happened. And I decided to go on sick leave, and I took 1 month sick leave. And I remember sitting down, I dropped my kids off work one day, and I sat down at my kitchen table. I remember that spot. And I sat there and I said, God, I can't go back to this job. You got to tell me what to do. And I sat there and I'm like, I'm not getting up until you tell me what to do. And a voice within me says, start your own business. And I was like, wait, what? And, because I one of the thing, like, I didn't want to go look for a new job because within the developmental sector, I know somebody that worked within most organization, and the culture was almost the same. So I'm like, you leave one and go to the other. It's like nothing was going to change. And I didn't want to start from the bottom because you have seniority and, and all that. So when I got that voice to start my business, I was like, okay, that was good. But one of the things that I desire is freedom. And freedom is a word that I use to describe me a lot. And so I said, okay, if I was going to do this, I need help. I need help. And then I got a voice, the same voice said within me, this is the person that should be your business partner. And I remember calling the person and saying to them, hey, this is a vision that I got. And you're going to be my business partner. And I remember the person said to me, well, I'm going to pray about it. And I said, you pray, I'll plan. And I planned the whole thing in 30 days. She just gave me half the money for everything. She trusted me. She's like, I don't know nothing about
Wow.
business. You do your thing. And she trusted me, and we launched the business. And honestly, just following that journey, I had a business background from years ago, so I was able to utilize that. And I was an office manager for years for a startup company, so I was able to utilize a lot of my knowledge from years ago, to start the business and do all the foundational piece of the business to get it up and going. And one of the things, because it's developmental, I remember I said to myself, what do I need to protect myself? So I did hire a business lawyer, but most of the work I did myself. And we launched January 2018. And honestly, the best decision I've made. My business partner, we work good together. Like, we are like two pea in a pod. The business is booming. And one of the things that I'm so grateful for, because even though I went into the developmental sector, I took a course not knowing what I was taking. And I thought I couldn't do this kind of job. And I think my bias is 16 years, but I've been in the field for about almost 20 years now by fluke. Everything is by fluke. And when I support the clients that I support, I recognize that I needed to be here because I do complex needs and behavior. And a lot of these clients, there's no one else to support them, right? And the
Mhm.
families are having challenges or difficulties or their home. And, so when I'm able to give that relief or make that difference, it's like, okay, this is why I'm in business.
Yeah, it's meaningful. You're doing impactful work. That's awesome. Thanks so much, Nikisha. And Joe is giving you some applaud, and I see a lot of head nods from
Yeah.
Jay too, because your story is so powerful. And I love what you talk about. It was like you said by chance, but I don't think anything was really by chance. You were still, and received that answer that you were looking for, that confirmation to validate, right? So that's awesome. Jay, over to you. When did you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, and how did you start Couture?
Well, um, as Joe said, ever since he was a kid, ever since I was a kid, I knew that I wanted to be a business owner of some sort. I didn't know what type of business it was going to be. Like, I didn't think it was going to be the business that I'm doing now, but I just knew that there was never a vision of me having some sort of career that, like, a conventional career. Like, I never had that type of thing. I always knew that I was going to be some sort of a business owner. Even when I went to school, it was to gain knowledge of accounting so that I can deal with my business myself. Right. So yeah, just as long as I can remember, I just knew that I wanted to be an independent business owner. So how my business started now, uh, it, it's, as Nikish said, by chance. I feel like mine was by chance also in design. Um, it kind of reminds me of the story of the Alchemist. I'm not too sure if you're familiar with The Alchemist, that book. You know, the boy and the boy goes on to search for his journey, his dream,
Yes.
and he comes back and finds out really his dream was right where he started in the beginning. All right. So I've been cutting hair ever since I was a kid, and it's something that I've been great at. But it was never what I thought I was going to be doing. Like I had all kinds of other visions and ideals of who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. But one thing I knew that I was good at, and one thing that everybody knew that I was good at, was cutting hair. So I've cut hair for ever since I was 14. I'm 47 now. I just had a birthday, so whatever. But yeah.
Happy
So
belated.
well, thank you. So how my story of opening up my business started was again, I've been cutting hair all my life, and at one point in my life, I had somebody that I was dating was helping me to devise a business plan so that I can now go to the bank and get a loan so I can open up a business. Right? So just take it out of the home and open up a business. But the plan, I never got a loan. Right? So, you know, weeks pass by and she comes to me with an idea of, you know what, maybe you should go and try this second careers. Because there was a thing going on called second careers, where you go and, you know, I guess you get a grant from the government. They teach you how to do something new, and they pay you as you learn. So I went to one of the seminars. So when I'm heading home from that seminar now, I'm all dressed up because I went to the seminar. Usually when I'm at home cutting hair, I'm very, 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 very casually dressed, right? But now because I'm dressed, I'm driving by a salon that's in my area that I said to myself, you know what, since I'm dressed, let me just go see what is happening at the salon. Maybe let me just see if I can maybe bring my clients that I have from home and bring them to this salon just to make a difference in my life, you know, just change something new, right? So I go to the salon and I say to the lady at the salon, because I notice every time I drive by, she's always just sitting down reading the newspaper. Nothing's really happening in there. So I said, let me see if I can bring my clients there. So I say, is it okay if I have this station right here? Like, you know, like as soon as you walk in the door, there's a station to your left where somebody would be working, but it's empty. So I said, is it okay if I have this station right here? She says, I'll have to ask my boss. So I figured, like, you know, she's in there. I thought she was the boss. So she said, I'll have to ask my boss. So she got on the phone, called her boss. Her boss then gets on the phone with me, and she says, I heard that you want the station. I said, yeah, I'd love to be able to, you know, work at the station. She goes, the station will be $1,500. I said, she goes, do you want to take it today? All right. And I said, take it. I said, no, I want to bring my clients here. She goes, oh no, baby, we're closing our shop today. I'm selling all the equipment. She said, we're closing down today. And I said, oh, well, if you're closing down, then I want the store. All right. Wow. I said, I want the store. I have no money. I have no idea what it takes to have the store. But I said, I want the store. So then she now says, okay, well, we'll have to talk to the landlord. You'll have to talk to the landlord because today we're done and tomorrow the landlord owns it. So then she puts me on she gives me the number for the landlord. I speak to the landlord and the landlord says, you're lucky that you called today because tomorrow I was about to give it to the realtor. And once the realtor get it, it's not in my hands anymore. So then I said, I want it. And then he says, okay. So when we talk, and then he gives me a number of what first and last would be. And I said, okay, fine. And then I don't have this money. All right. So then this, you know, long story short, it's crazy. It's crazy. So
how old were you?
It was 8 years ago. So 8 years ago, I'm 47 today. So it's, what's that math? 39.
39. Wow.
Right. So now I get on the conversation with the landlord. The landlord is going to give me the place, but I need to get the first and last on Monday. I have to get first and last on Monday. It's now Friday. I don't have the money. So I say, okay, but you know what? I have a couple people in my life that owe me this kind of money. Let me call in the money that people owe me. No one has the money to give me. All right. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So anyways, it's Saturday now. And I'm just telling you this long story because this is very crazy and by chance, just as Nikki said, right? Saturday, I'm sitting down eating dinner with my family. I get a phone call on my phone on a Saturday evening, and it's Scotiabank. Scotiabank says you qualify for a credit card with this much money. Would you like it? I'm like, yes, because it's the exact amount of money that I needed. Scotiabank was actually the bank that I went to get the loan, and they refused me. But now, for some reason, their credit department is calling me, offering me a credit card on the Saturday.
On a Saturday night.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Right. So everything just lined up. It was weird and wild, and then they said to me at the end of it, if you need the money that's on the card before you get your card, you can go to the bank and get checks. I'm like, this is crazy. This is crazy. So I said, okay, thank you very much. Hung up the phone, went to the bank on Monday, got checks, gave it to the landlord, and I have my store. And
you still have your store.
And I still have my store. And the amazing thing is that with the business proposal that I wrote that I handed into the bank, about how the store would run, it was nothing like the success of this store is nothing like what was in the business proposal. Like the business proposal didn't even compare to what I'm doing right now, because I had no idea of what this store could bring me. And I had no idea of what it was like to run a business. So I was just forecasting something that I had no clue of. And what's happening is greater than what I could have ever imagined. So that's how I started my business.
So powerful. And in the chat, people are like saying great stories again. Thanks for the stories. So you guys are all definitely making an impact in the viewers. So Jay, I'm going to start off another question with you. What motivates you to keep going? Because I know it can't be easy. So what motivates you to keep going? And how do you manage as a business owner to manage work-life balance?
Well, what motivates me to keep going is my clients. My clients motivate me to keep going. I'm super honored that they choose me, that they choose my store. So like I have my clients booked like 2, 3, 4 weeks in advance. So just even that, every time I look at my calendar and I see that I have a steady stream of clients that are looking forward, that have chosen me, and they've decided like they're gonna wait for that amount of time so that they can be with me. That's a great motivation for me right there, because I'm like, I feel chosen, I feel selected, I feel honored that, so that motivates me big time, is that people trust me that much and they're willing to wait for me. So it kind of motivates me to want to do my best for every single person that I see, because I know what it took for them to be sitting in my chair at that moment.
Can I just tell you guys that you guys are all giving me goosebumps? Like, Jay, what even you just shared, I had like goosebumps up my arms, my legs, because what you just said is facts. Because I know that I have gone on your site to book for my boys, and I'm like I'm going to call Jay because this is ridiculous. I can't get him. So he's not lying. That's definitely a fact. So my next question, Jay, was about work-life balance, being a business owner, and I know that you have children. How do you manage that?
It's better than I realize. And I say that because I was having a conversation yesterday about my work-life balance. And at first, look at it, I'm like, man, my work-life balance sucks. But then I realized it's not as bad as I think it is, because I have my work schedule, and everybody is scheduled. I have children that I co-parent, and when it's my days with my children, there's no interrupting it. And then I have a romantic partner that I'm involved with, that we have a dedicated date night that's weekly. And I realize like that is always happening. Like there's no it not happening. So but because things run so smoothly and everything runs so smoothly, I actually disregard the fact that things are happening. Do you know what I mean? But when I actually, take account of everything that I'm doing, like, wow, I actually have a really good work-life balance. But because it just runs so smoothly, I disregard the fact that there is a work-life balance. I'm just thinking, man, I want to be doing more. I should be doing more, but not realizing that I'm doing so much, but not realizing that it's so smooth that I'm taking for granted how balanced things are.
It's awesome. Over to you, Joe. So what motivates you to keep going? Thanks, Jay, by the way. But what motivates you to keep going? And work-life balance, how do you manage to keep your work and your professional life and your personal life in an even balance?
There's a couple of answers to that. What motivates me? And I got a little asterisk beside this thing that I wrote down here. When it gets tough, sometimes you think, oh, maybe I should just go work over here or whatever. I quickly slap myself and I say, I don't want to be under anyone. I don't want to be under that, because so connected to that, I enjoy the creative freedom to just say, whatever I have in here and here, if it seems right, I'm going to go do it. No one can tell me whether or not I can do it.
I love that, Joe, that connected freedom and alignment. Beautiful.
Unless my wife says, Joe, that's a bit quack, but, the important people in your life. But, that idea of having that creative freedom. And then also, another thing that drives me a lot is just being able to, through this medium, which is my business, is my opportunity to make a difference in the world, to bring some light to my corner of the world. It's my way to do that and express that, be that. So the thought of stopping it would kind of put a douse on that, kill it. So I just kind of feel internally obligated to do this so that I can give something to people.
And what about the balance, Joe? Because you too have, two very active boys.
Yeah. Jay's word, schedule. I have down here schedule. I mean, you got to make priority lists and schedule, work when I can and play when I can. And then my business serves the corporate world, which basically, ranges from, 9 to 5, basically on average. Where it gets kind of crazy sometimes, there's crazy been in the past, is if I'm importing something from overseas and I need to get on the phone or email with someone that's overseas in China or whatnot. And I've had to do that, so you're up like at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, because they're 12 hours ahead of us. So yeah, but, it just schedules, priority lists. Sometimes you can't play because you got to do a little bit of work, but then there's a lot of times you can play. So, and I've been doing it since I was 25, being kind of a semi self-employed person, having my own business since 2014. So it's kind of you're built kind of, you know what to do. So, and then your play gives you energy to do work.
Agreed. What about you, Nikisha? What motivates you to keep going on those tough days, especially someone that has, an invisible illness with, I think, I don't know if you want to share the illness, but I know sometimes the pain can be tough, but you still get up and you still keep going, right? So what motivates you? And then you too are a mama bear. How do you balance that with your kids?
To be honest, if anyone who's watching this and ever been in the healthcare industry, for me, most healthcare workers work 2, 3 jobs. Like, right. And for years, I had 2 jobs. I had a full time and a part time that was like a full time. And I had 2 young children. I remember my 13-year-old son, he's currently 13, but the first 3 years of his life, I have no clue what was going on. Like, I completely just went like this. I missed it. Um, and because I was working so much, plus I was going to school at the same time, right? So family members were more caregivers than I was. And then 3 years later, I had my daughter, and she demands so much more of me, right? So, but I remember being so exhausted and so tired. So one of the things when I was starting my business, one of the things that I desire is freedom. And for me, freedom is to just be to do what I want to do when I want to do it and work how I want to do it. So my business, the way when I started my business or when I was developing my business, I wanted my business to reflect who I am and what I desire. And because I desire freedom, one of the things for me, I didn't want to be in between 4 walls. So I don't have an office. I do have an office, but I don't have a physical place. And my service is outside in the community. So what that does for me, it gives me the freedom to be wherever I want to be, support my clients while I'm integrating them in the community, while I'm doing fun stuff. Like yesterday, I was at Wet and Wild. The day before, I was at the Science Center. There's nothing happening around town within as far as you can find it that I'm not there. Like today, I was at the park. Just going hiking to a falls. Like so, because I love being outdoor and I love being free. My business represent me, right? So because of that, I'm motivated every day to get up and go. Right. Okay. Now I have a second business where I'm supporting, helping people to start their own business or supporting them with their business journey. So that business, I usually do it on my spare time. And I find during COVID, it was a bit easier because my organization was shut down or slowed down. So I was able to do more of that kind of work, the consulting work. So now what I did, because my organization is slowed down, I'm doing less of that and, less promoting and just only taking on work that I'm able to manage. Right. So my motivation is just being able to recognizing that I'm here for my children. I'm able to live the life that I want to live and just seeing it coming into reality, right? Every day you wake up like,
She got frozen.
I think Nikisha froze. So we'll go on to the next question. I think her internet's a little bit funky. Okay, so we're going to go to Jay. What do you enjoy the most, would you say, about being an entrepreneur? You're muted, Jay.
So the thing that I enjoy most about being an entrepreneur, as Nikisha says, like it's like I always piggyback off the things that she says last, is freedom. And the freedom to create whatever it is that I want my particular business to be at any particular time. Like I could and how I can have my business align or collab with anybody or business. So like the idea of my business, I love the idea of my business being community based, right? Like community is the one thing that I want people to associate with my business. So in saying that, I love the idea that I can, if I want to, just decide that I want to collab with Kadine's business or Joe's business on whatever project we might want to work on. Do you know what I mean? And that's not me having to maybe go to my boss and say, hey, you know what's a good idea? It's the freedom that I appreciate. So yeah.
I think that's something that I'm enjoying too, is the freedom. Like you said, I can collaborate with whoever I want. I can do whatever I want. I can wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning if I want to start my day, which I typically do because I know that I'm my best at 10 o'clock, right? 9 o'clock, 9:30, that's an exception I'll make sometimes. but on an everyday basis, I'm not lying, right? I have that flexibility. So I love that. What about you, Joe? What do you enjoy the most about being an entrepreneur?
That's so funny. Like we're all kind of saying the same thing, but I have creative freedom written down here for that answer.
To change it.
You do what you want, and this sentence that was told to me a number of years ago when I had already started my business in 2014, but it was back in 2019 that I was a bit at a crossroads. And because in my business, there's so many different directions you can go in terms of the promotional merchandise you can sell and how you sell it and where you sell it and everything. So I was kind of getting tired of the whole selling products, even though products is what I sell. I was needing some direction and some guidance. So I met this lady by the name of Nancy Spotton, and she said to me, she said, "Joe, what makes your heart sing?" And I thought about that, and I always goes back. Like if I'm going to think of a different idea or a sub brand or some category, I'm like, well, Joe, does it make your heart sing? If it does, do it. If it doesn't, don't do it. And it's easy, because if it does, then when you get up every day, every morning, you're serving that, and then you're serving someone else, and it's just so much easier, as opposed to just trying to do some sort of transaction to get some sort of monthly revenue. Which is just, I'm beyond that now. So.
And you know what? Confucius has a saying that says, if you find a job that you love, you will never work a day in your life. And that has been my dream. And it's a space that I'm playing in right now and what I want for everybody. Because can you imagine if everyone in the world was doing work that they love to do? What a beautiful world this would be.
Mm-hmm.
So, Nikisha, the question that I was asking was, what do you enjoy the most? And I think you already shared, it's the freedom, it's the flexibility.
Yes.
So I'm not going to ask you that question. I'm going to ask you, what do you find the hardest about it? What's the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur?
Okay, for me, only because I do have chronic, am I echoing?
Yes.
Oh, not sure. I'm not sure why.
I think it's okay now. Say something again.
Yes, am I still echoing? No?
A little bit, but it's better.
Okay, not sure. I came off my own Wi-Fi on the phone Wi-Fi, and it's still acting up.
Okay, so it's still a little bit bad. So I don't know if you want to try again. And I'll move on to someone else to the next question. Okay?
What was the question? Sorry.
So Jay, what do you find the hardest about being an entrepreneur, or the most challenging?
Okay, so for me, what I find the hardest in my particular industry is that finding someone that has the same type of drive or desire for success, or even trying to achieve the goals of what I want my business to be when I hire them into the business, right? It's kind of that is kind of one of the hardest things, is to have somebody come in and want to. Maybe they can't have the same type of desire for me, but having them being aligned with my goals is that is the difficult part for me. And that might be part of my leadership deficiencies as well, right? Me not being able to communicate to them constantly what it is that I desire for not me, but for the company, for the business, right? So that is one of the things that I find most difficult being a business owner.
Now, I'm going to go on to another question with you, Jay. What are some mistakes that you wish that you could have avoided when you started your business?
Like I said, not setting not setting clear intentions and understandings of what I want, of my want for my business with the people that I hire into the business. All right. So again, like we're barbers. So when a barber comes in, he may have experience in a different barber shop, or they may not have any experience at all, and I might be the one who's teaching them. But so now all I'm really depending on as a mistake is just getting the one who doesn't know how to do anything to be able to be efficient at doing the work, and then just trusting the one that can do the work to do the work. But now all my mistake is having them being able to complete work as opposed to have an idea of growth of the business, right? So that's where I've made mistakes is trying to have everybody in line or aligned with the idea of growth of business as opposed to just completion of work.
Right. Keisha, you good? Let's go on to you with this question.
Okay, hopefully this time this works.
So my question is, what mistakes would you wish that you could have avoided as an entrepreneur?
Um, I think for me as an entrepreneur, because I've worked with like I'll say, maybe over 80 to 100 different type of disability people with disability. When I started my business, we just thought like we could. I thought I could serve everyone, right? Because I had the experience with different type of disability, different type of behavior, like you name it. I had experience in it, so I thought I could serve everyone. And so when we start getting different clientele, right away, it's like some of them you felt like you had a boss, right? And there was things about that I didn't enjoy about some clientele. So right away, like, okay, this is what start checking off the list. This is what I'm not able to do. This is what I don't want to do. And then I was able to narrow it down. And then one of the things that I learned, if you're serving everyone, you're servicing no one. So I wasn't really servicing anyone. I was just servicing the disability world, right? The developmental world. So I was able to narrow it down to the T now and like, okay, what part of what I do I enjoy the most, and ask myself that question: what do I enjoy doing the most? And that's when I recognize I do enjoy behavior. I do enjoy the complex needs, and that's when I narrow it down to the T and just specialize in that. So what that does for me when I do get calls for different type of service or different type of clientele, I'm able to say, hey, no, I know exactly who's not for me and who's for me. So if I get 10 calls per week, some weeks I do get a lot of calls, inquiries. I'm able to, sift through it right away. And, sometimes if I get 10 inquiries or 5 inquiries or 2 inquiries, 90% are not my clientele. But what I love about my community is that I'm able to build a lot of network within my community, and because I've helped a lot of people within the healthcare industry start their business, I'm able to do that referral. So instead of saying no, I don't service you, I'm able to say, hey, I don't, but I know who does, right? And able to make that connection. So I'm happy that I have that circle, and then I'm able to teach others like, okay, who's it that you want to support based on what you enjoy doing? Like, yes, we could do everything, but do you enjoy doing everything, right? So that was the biggest lesson I've learned, right? And my business over the first 3 years, I think I restructured it like about 4 or 5 times based on the clientele that I was working with and what I like and did not like about those clientele, right? And don't worry, you can fire yourself from a client too, right? Don't feel like you're obligated to work with someone if you're not enjoying who you're working with. It's a mutual agreement, and that's one of the things that I make sure within the contract that they're able to cancel within 30 days or 90 days notice, and we're able to cancel too. So don't put yourself in a contract where you're binded because you don't know if it's going to work for you, and you don't want to stuck working with somebody that makes you not enjoy what you do, right? So I hope that helps someone.
Yeah, that's a great response. Joe, we're going to pass it over to you, and then we have one more final question.
What's the question again?
What mistakes, if any, do you wish you could have avoided during your entrepreneurship journey?
When I started my business, I think everybody loves to see their name or their brand in lights. In my case, I sell promotional merchandise, and you're excited. You want to put your logo on everything. And so, that there's a little bit ego there. And I think whatever it is, if you should be a little bit more organized. Don't drive with ego. Have a literal strategy of, okay, we're going to target this group and we're going to put $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever it is, define it. And we're going to invest in this and we're going to watch it. We're going to monitor it. We're going to see if there's going to be a return on that investment. And as Nikisha was saying, maybe even having little niche markets, target markets, as opposed to just trying to service the entire world. So being a little bit organized in that regard. And then also something that I've kind of really learned just quite recently over the past couple of years is instead of, and people starting out right now could probably take this. And I learned this from a book that I read, which is this Start With Why, Simon Sinek. Don't start with what you're going to sell. And I think one of the things that all of us have talked about is there's been a deep desire. There's been a true why as to why you're selling what you're selling. Start with why are you selling this thing? Then figure out how you're going to do it, and then sell the what. And it's the what that's going to make your income. So, but always, if your what is connected to your why, then getting up every morning is better. So, yeah.
Love that. If your what is connected to your why.
Yeah.
That's a gem right there. Drop. Okay, mic drop. This is over.
And then there's how. There's how in the middle, and you get that from him. That's Simon Sinek. That's not me.
Now, I've got the book. I've read it, but I think I need to reread it. And, exactly what Nikisha said as well. When I started, I was like, I want to help everybody. And I still do. But was told that if you're speaking to everybody, then you're speaking to no one. So who are you speaking to? And I was like, okay, well, then I'm speaking to myself. I'm speaking to the Kadeen Cooper that was like 10, 15 years ago in her career, feeling unfulfilled, feeling stuck. That's the person or the audience that I want to help, that I want to support on their career journey. So one final question, to be mindful of everyone's time and to be able to answer some questions. And it's also getting a little bit noisy where I am at. Who do you look to for guidance or mentorship? Or what advice would you give to starting entrepreneurship? And we're going to start with Jay.
Who I look to for advice or mentorship is my peers that are in my industry. Especially when I was starting out, it was a lot of my peers that I knew that were already doing what I'm doing in the matter of running a business, running a barbershop. I called in a lot of favors, a lot of questions. I just question after question. And sometimes I thought I was being annoying, but the amazing thing is that everybody that I called was so willing to give me all the information that I needed to take the steps to make the steps that I needed to make. And also people in my life that I know that are entrepreneurs doing their businesses. I often have conversations with them and pick their brains about why they do the things that they do and how things work out for them. And what do they do when things go wrong? Just so that I have kind of like an idea of what to expect or even how to behave in certain situations. So that it's my peers in the barbershop, as well as people who already do this stuff. And the one advice that I give to every person that I know that is starting something is utilize social media. Use it.
Yep, show up. It's so important to show up. I'm going to take that advice. That's a definitely good tip that I need to utilize and get in the habit of doing. So social media is key. let's go over to Joe. What about you? What advice would you give? And is there anybody that you have in your circle that you look to for guidance or mentorship?
So, okay, I've been in the industry for a long time, so I know my craft quite well. There are some people I might look to and bound to get, but where I really needed a lot of guidance was, how do I kind of restructure and refocus and all that kind of stuff. So to me, it was books. It was books and webinars. And I read this book that totally changed. And I highly recommend it. Anybody that's marketing a business, highly recommend reading this book. And I get no money for this. It's pure. It's Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Basically, the whole shtick is that always do not profess yourself as the hero in your business. You're not the hero. People don't care about you. You are the guide. And he uses the analogy like in Star Wars. People have problems. People have challenges. They might have long hair and it's a hot, humid day and they need to look good because there's going to be a wedding this weekend. So they got to go get their hair cut. So they call up Obi-Wan Kenobi. I need some help. And there's Jay. He's there. Obi-Wan, just like in Star Wars, Luke Skywalker needed some help. And Jay is the guide. He's going to help him out. And then Joe, who needed that haircut, he's fixed and he's back onto his journey again. He's the hero. Your customer is the hero. So that's the whole thing. I'm not going to get into it, but that's a great book to get, Building a Story Brand. And then he has other books. Donald Miller, Marketing Made Simple is another one. But a real good one for and which I really have depended on too is another book he's written called Business Made Simple. And it's simple stuff, the way he's written it. So I highly recommend that. Books, webinars, just be a sponge, learn whenever you can. Highly recommend it. Also, what Jay was talking about, social media, another book that I read, and I wouldn't promote these. I mean, I have Post-it notes, all of them, if they didn't benefit me, was Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk. Again, he's a big professor of the benefits of social media and the different types of channels, social media. So yeah, another great book to use. And of course, Simon Sinek, Start With Why.
Awesome shares. Thank you so much. Sarah, I believe, has put the links to those books in the chat. So that's phenomenal. Thanks so much for that support in the back end, Sarah. So I just want to thank you, each and every one of you, for your time this evening, for the knowledge, for the insights and the gems that you've shared. I truly hope that everyone will watch the replay and get some, insights and gems and just encouragement. If you're thinking on venturing into this entrepreneurship world, just do it. Do your research, build a community and a network, and just do it. I'll hand it over to you, Sarah, so I can mute. I apologize for the noise.
Yeah, just a final thank you. Thank you so much to our panels today. Same as Kadeen, I actually got goosebumps with some of your stories. Thank you so much for sharing and opening up. We really appreciate that. This is our one program this session about entrepreneurship. So thank you. And thanks, Kadeen, for organizing this. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Such a great turnout. And yes, it's available as the link. So please, if you know anyone that's interested in maybe starting their business, you can pass this along. It's the most helpful when you hear from people that have actually done it. So thanks again. And I'm going to say have a great night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody.
Sarah, I think there's a couple of questions. I don't know if we can get to 2 questions or no. Does everyone have to rush out?
You know what? Yes, someone asked Nikisha about what she studied, and I believe Nikisha, you answered that there.
Yeah, I answered in the group.
That's great. So
so everyone could,
yeah, thanks. So
okay, awesome. I just want to make sure we didn't ignore anyone. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Nikisha.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.